What's up, nerds? So Gallagher's official character preview is officially out. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy, because he's probably the first 4-star I've been excited about since probably Shui Yi's release. In case you guys didn't know, what we know about him so far is that he can apply 2 different debuffs within his kit, making him a really solid free-to-play option for Acheron teams. Let's say you can't get your hands on Aventurine, you're okay, because Gallagher is going to be on the same banner along with Acheron, so you're likely going to be able to pull him and use him as an option for your team. Now, just so that you are aware, if you have a really strong Acheron team, you might not necessarily need a sustainability character that can apply debuffs like Aventurine or Gallagher. I'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video, where I talk about team compositions and character synergies for Acheron, and in the Acheron build guide. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. Let's talk about Gallagher. So let's get into these traces and other abilities that he has. So this first trace here increases this unit's outgoing healing by an amount equal to a certain percentage of their break effect, up to a maximum amount. So there is a cap on this, but that's not really a problem. This is a really good clue, by the way. This lets us know that Gallagher is going to be very heavily affected by break effect. In fact, we have a light cone with him on it already that just so happens to increase the character's break effect. It's called What is Real, increases the character's break effect by 24%. Let's look at this at Superimposition 5, because this light cone is in the Forgotten Hall shop. So everybody should be able to get their hands on this and take it to S5 pretty easily. It increases the wearer's break effect by 48%. At S5, after using their basic attack, it restores HP for the wearer by an amount equal to 4% of their max HP plus 800. The reason why this cone works like this is because Gallagher will have a sort of slower healing effect. It's very powerful, but it doesn't affect all of your allies at once. So Gallagher will mostly focus on healing your allies, but this light cone will basically help keep him topped off and tanky enough so that you never really need to heal him, as long as you're using a light cone like this on him. So this is really great for free-to-play players, because you have a free-to-play light cone that works really well with his kit. So let's go back to the actual character preview here. So we already understand he works well off a break effect, and his outgoing healing is affected by that. So that's really great. After using the ultimate, it immediately advances forward this unit's action. So pair him together with, supports that use Dance, and you will get even more out of him, because basically action advance forward, Dance has action advance forward. You make him really built for like high speed. He's going to be able to take a lot of actions, potentially becoming a very reliable skill point generator, as well as keeping up his ult really often. And his ult has a debuff attached to it, which you're probably going to want active as much as possible. And it's attached to his ultimate as well. So this is really good. This works really well with this kit. If you haven't noticed, like, the newer characters that are coming out have really good traces that work really well with their kit. That's basically always the case, but like they're coming out with better and better traces for these characters these days, which is really nice. When Gallagher uses Nectar Blitz to attack enemies that are in the besotted state, the HP restore effect of his talent for this attack will apply to other allies as well. This is, again, something that just works directly into his kit very nicely, and we'll go over what the besotted state is in just a moment and how this effect works. So the besotted state, just so you guys are aware, is, yet another debuff that he has. So let's get into that here. In case you guys needed, this is the leveling up material you will need: Ascension materials plus trace materials. Unfortunately, this alien tree seed is not in the game yet, so you'll have to wait until his release to be able to farm this particular thing. You can get everything else, though, this little battery thing and the weekly boss. You can farm those, but you can't farm this Raging Heart or the alien tree seed quite yet until he actually releases in the game, which is kind of funny, because you can pre-farm Acheron, but you can't pre-farm him, which is kind of funny in my opinion. Now, he has a very lazy idle animation. This is literally the most idle animation of idle animations I've ever seen. It is quite literally, like, every other character has like some really cool, like, look at me kind of idle animation. His is quite literally the most lazy this is the truest idle animation in the entire game. Now, let's take a look at his technique real quick. This technique is really cool, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but he's like Wolverine. He's like the nice Wolverine, because he can heal you and make you drinks. but he has literal claws. Like, his attacks have claws, bro. That's sick. This is the coolest healer in the entire game. The coolest looking healer in the entire game. Now, let me stop yapping. It immediately attacks the enemy upon entering battle and inflicts Besotted on all enemies, lasting for a certain number of turns, and deals fire damage to all enemies. As I mentioned before, Besotted is technically a debuff. So if you are pairing him together with Acheron, if you use his technique to enter battle, there might be other techniques you might want to use instead that might make more sense, but just so that you guys are aware, he essentially debuffs all enemies at once, and a certain number of turns, and deals fire damage to all enemies. So this is literally an AoE, and it doesn't say there's a chance. He literally just inflicts that debuff on all enemies. There is no chance involved. He just gets to do that. That is a master command. He immediately debuffs all enemies and deals fire damage to all of them, which is pretty good. He has a basic attack that is actually good because he has an enhanced basic attack version of it. And we'll have to go over this basic attack again once we know more about how the enhanced basic attack works. So let's just keep moving so we can get to that. Firstly, it deals fire damage to a single enemy, but there's an enhanced version which deals fire damage to a single target enemy and reduces the target's attack, lasting for a certain number of turns. This, I don't know if you guys have noticed what reduce this target's attack means. That is a debuff. This is another debuff that he has. He has two debuffs. This one, which reduces the attack of that enemy, and he also has another one. Let's get into that. So this is his talent. This is going to be his skill effect, I think, but his talent is going to work like this. The Besotted state increases the break damage that targets receive. Every time a Besotted target is attacked by an ally, the attacker's HP gets restored. So he has passive healing for your other allies, essentially. So this is really, really good because some people were worried if he's going to be a good enough healer. He's going to have passive healing that basically allows you to just continuously attack enemies and get healed from it, which is really, really cool. I very, very much like that. And it also increases the break damage. So this guy's going to be pretty solid. And by the way, this means that he's going to work really, really well with, with Ron May, because she likes to break enemies. He likes you to break enemies too. So this is going to be a really, really fun 4-star, guys. I'm really excited about this guy, and I'm interested to see what people cook up with this dude. So let's talk about his skill. This is how he heals people. He opens up a can of beer, so soda, whatever you may want to call it. He calls it special brew. Let's be honest, how many sodas you know that people are brewing? I'm brewing beer in my backyard. He immediately restores a single target ally's HP. From what I know, this is a really, really solid heal. The problem with it is that it only heals one ally at a time, which is why his talent is so important, because you can heal your other allies by attacking the enemy. So that's really, really important. This skill is basically like a get-out-of-jail-free card kind of a thing. It's like an emergency heal. Like if one of your allies gets really rocked, this is what you're going to have to use to keep them alive, basically. Now let's get to his ultimate. Champagne Etiquette. Let's take a look at the animation, because the animation is super sick. He pops his collar, he powers up, he moves out his, he pulls out his Wolverine claws, and he attacks all enemies. Inflicts Besotted on all enemies for a certain number of turns and deals fire damage to them at the same time. So it's an AoE effect, and he applies a debuff to them at the same time. It enhances this unit's next attack to become Nectar Blitz. So this now rounds back over to his basic attack. So just to reiterate, again, debuffs all enemies and deals fire damage to all of them. So it's an AoE effect. So this is a fun 4-star. Now let's get into what that does. This is Besotted. Besotted is on all enemies, and it gets Nectar Blitz. So we already talked about it briefly, but let's go back to the basic attack. So you will debuff enemies all at once with that ultimate. Then his next attack, you're going to want to use Nectar Blitz. So you want to build up his ult, right? You want to build up his ult, hit everybody with his ult, debuff everybody with the ult, so you get a debuff off of that, right? And then his next attack, you're going to want to use his basic attack, because his next, let me just read that real quick, right? Enhances this unit's next next basic attack to Nectar Blitz. So we might be able to hold on to this. I don't know if it gives him a stack, but we might be able to hold on to this ability until the next time he uses a basic attack. It's a little bit hard to tell right now. Hopefully, if you use his ultimate and then you're forced to use his skill, hopefully it doesn't like ruin the buff, right? Hopefully he doesn't lose the enhanced basic. That's my hope, and that's my worry right now with him, is does this enhanced basic go away if it's not your next action? It doesn't say it goes away, so my assumption is that you can use his ultimate, and if you have to, you can heal, but his next basic attack will be enhanced to Nectar Blitz, and then he'll be able to apply yet another debuff. So I'm yapping right now, but we're kind of theory crafting a little bit too before he comes out, that you should be able to use his ult, debuff an enemy, debuff everybody, right? Debuff all enemies, then use Nectar Blitz likely on the boss enemy, so that the boss enemy ends up getting a debuff as well. So now you've applied 2 debuffs with your sustain unit, and that's 2 out of 9 stacks you would need with an Acheron team in order to get her to her ult. This, to me, sounds like a pretty reliable source of debuffs, in my opinion, and will make it a lot better for an Acheron team. I really like this guy. If you have a strong enough Acheron team as a free-to-play, you should be able to clear the content pretty quickly, and you might not necessarily need some super-duper ridiculously OP healer like Huo, or, you know, like Locha or somebody like that, right? Or like a really good other sustain like Fu Xuan, or somebody like that, or Aventurine. I think that he will be able to get the job done himself on a good Acheron team, because we also found out that Acheron can hold on to extra stacks as well. So that's really, really cool. I'm really, really digging this guy. I'm going to stop yapping. We'll go over his kit again once, you know, I make a build guide for him and Team Synergies, you know, video with Acheron and all that stuff. So if you guys enjoy Honkai Star Rail content, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Maybe leave a like and subscribe. Later.